Tonight, Daire Beach residents share their frustration with the province. A Regina woman continues her protest near the landfill. And the CoOp refinery celebrates 90 years.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Residents are returning home to Daire Beach to complete devastation, with around 300 homes destroyed by the wildfires. The damage is fueling frustration in the community, directed towards the province for their response leading up to and during evacuations. John Flatters is in Daire Beach and has the latest.
As neighbors hug and try to make sense of the destruction left in their community by the wolf fire, the mayor of Daire Beach looks for a bright spot.
The water plant and the sewer plant are functioning. If they weren't functioning, that alone would probably take 3 to 4 years to get rolling.
He says unofficial estimates put the number of properties destroyed in the 300 range. Residents stayed behind to try and help the dozen or so local firefighters who found themselves shorthanded when the fire shifted.
I know that Daire could have fared much better had there been more sprinklers and fire teams available. I'm not saying that it would have been saved completely, but the losses could have been minimized or much less had we had the help from the SPSA and the government.
Those who evacuated say there was confusion and delays around available supports, leaving many without any idea where to go for help.
I'm told that there's help to help me out a little bit, and it's helped other people, but, you know, too little, too late.
NDP MLA Jordan McPhail joined residents calling for answers from the province.
They might not have gotten it right by supporting evacuees when they were displaced from their communities. They might not have gotten it right when it came to providing the resources to the front lines of these fire lines and support communities where they're at, but they have an opportunity to get this right and make sure that the people behind me have a very clear plan from a provincial government on how they're going to be supported as they rebuild their community.
Premier Scott Moe says this fire season has been one of the most challenging in recent years, and that his government will review to see how they can improve the response to wildfires.
We are starting to have discussions about how do we learn from this year and other years as well, and how do we compare with other jurisdictions and share best practices on both the wildfire response as well as the evacuation response.
Meanwhile, locals know they'll need to lean on neighbors to get through the loss of homes, memories, and fortunes.
We still got Creighton, we still got Flin Flon, and the Flin Flon Bombers. So we got hockey to look forward to, and so, you know, not all is lost, but a lot of it has been.
John Flatters, CTV News, Daire Beach.
Environment and Climate Change Canada and Northern Tornadoes Project have confirmed that 8 tornadoes did touch down in Saskatchewan last Thursday. 3 touched down in southeast Saskatchewan, 2 just east of Regina, 1 near Muskowhegan First Nation, 1 in the Manitou Lake area, and 1 near Hubbard. There was damage reported in several farmyards, along with snapped trees, power poles, and displaced oil tanks. Being joined us for our first look at weather. Some severe thunderstorms hitting the province again today. Regina spared this afternoon, but further south has been some issues.
Yeah, we saw quite a bit of activity come through mostly southern Saskatchewan today. Lee, that may shift as we head into tomorrow. I'll talk more about that coming up. But you're right, we did see some tornado warnings issued around the Key West, Edgeworth area, and then also, as you can see on the radar satellite, as this system is continuing to move, we're starting to see those warnings follow naturally where that system is moving to. So we have seen a lot of those warnings lift for southern Saskatchewan. Watches are still in place, despite the fact that a lot of these systems have passed through the area. And then even further north around the Prince Albert area, we're continuing to see some severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, these warnings include that we could see hail up to nickel-sized hail, wind gusts up to about 100 kilometers an hour, even higher than that, and some heavy rain coming through the area. Temperatures have remained well above seasonal. You can see starting to cool down, though. Regina did warm up to 27 degrees, cooling down to about 21 right now. The average is about 24 for this time of year, but we're only going to see those temperatures continue to be above seasonal, at least for the next couple of days. But I'll have more information coming up in your full forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. It's been a long week for one woman holding a demonstration in the north side of Regina near the city landfill. She continues to fast in her quest to get police to check the landfill for her daughter's remains. Damien Smith has the details.
It's now been 10 days since Michelle Bear began her hunger strike and started camping on the outskirts of Regina's landfill.
yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I want to bring my baby home.
It's part of her fight to find the remains of her daughter, Rochelle Bear, who was murdered in 2013 by serial killer Clayton Eichler. And each day she performs a sacred fast of a liquid diet, living off of water and soup broth, to garner the attention of Regina Police Service to conduct a search of the landfill for Rochelle's remains. And it's difficult, but she's trying to stay positive.
Well, what keeps me going is the fact that, one day I'm going to bring my daughter home to her sacred burial ground. Until they start digging, it's just words, right? So, like I said, I'm here until they start digging.
Michelle's actions are gaining traction around the city, with more horns honking passing by after seeing this sign at the corner of McDonald and Fleet Street.
People from just the city coming out and talking to me, and a lot of people telling me that they believe that their loved one is out here as well.
It's an incredibly devastating situation for her and her family and what's happened. But ultimately, the city is really taking the direction from RPS, and so that would be who can comment further on it for sure.
The Regina Police Service says it's been working with Michelle, but needs to have evidence that would confirm the location of Rochelle's remains. Officers are also checking in twice a day in the morning and evening to ensure her safety. And Michelle says that she will be there for the foreseeable future up until shovels are dug into the ground, and in the meantime is looking to get a permit from the city to bring in her own teepee. Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
Regina Police Board of Commissioners met this morning discussing topics such as pension policy, contact interviews, and crime stats for the month of May. Crime did remain down in that month, seeing an overall decrease of 15% in crimes against people and crimes against property. In the past few weeks, though, police have had to partner up with Saskatchewan Health to react to a local increase in overdoses. In the first half of June, that included 54 cases in 1 week.
There might be a drug that's in the community right now that has increased toxicity over what we're regularly seeing based on the number of calls for assistance that we're receiving. And so we work with health just to put out that alert so that people in the community understand what's happening in real time and then can make maybe safer choices in terms of their usage of those narcotics so that we aren't having more overdoses.
The service also referenced assaults were down 24%, robberies down 10%, and break and entering was down 33%. It's been one of the well-known landmarks in the city of Regina for almost a century. Today, the CoOp refinery complex on the Ring Road celebrating its 90th anniversary. Jacob Carr has more on the growth the company has seen during generations of doing business in Western Canada.
Hundreds of workers, past and present, crowded into a makeshift tent outside the CoOp refinery complex, celebrating the 90th anniversary of the company, recognizing the hard work of all employees.
This day is filled with pride, tons of pride. We talk about fueling Western Canada, and it's more than just, like we said, it's the fuel, but it's also like what it means to communities, what it means to local co-ops. It's just there's so much pride in the room today, and really about the people and coming together.
The refinery complex distributes up to 17 million liters of fuel a day to co-op gas bars and cardlocks throughout Western Canada, which Regina Mayor Chad Baczynski says is something to be proud of.
Well, I think it's a massive impact, and to be honest, I think what we need to do is celebrate that more. I think we're way too humble about the fact that we are supplying that much fuel and the impact that we have, and I think we got to be a little less humble about it.
Other dignitaries in attendance lauded the refinery complex for being a value-added aspect of the oil-producing economy in the province, among other things.
But actually providing the fuel for all the other industries, to grow and prosper. Agriculture, transportation industry, the mining industry, us as families and parents, taking our kids to wherever they need to go.
The company was founded in 1935 by 8 farmers who wanted to produce their own oil. Fast forward to 2025, and the refinery can produce up to 130,000 barrels of crude oil a day, something that requires a lot of hands on deck.
There's over 1,000 people that work at the refinery here in Regina, and then there's another number, hundreds of people that support from other areas. So we do have offices across Western Canada, but the majority, a lot of our team members are in Saskatoon and in Regina.
90 years of fueling Western Canada, as Federated Cooperatives Limited would say, and they are looking forward to 90 more. Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
The Saskatchewan NDP is calling on the province to scrap what it calls costly used vehicle inspections for out-of-province purchases. In Saskatoon, the opposition urged the provincial government to eliminate SGI's mandatory inspections for used vehicles not purchased in Saskatchewan, calling it outdated, expensive, and an unnecessary obstacle to interprovincial trade. Under current rules, SGI requires more used vehicles brought outside or brought outside of Saskatchewan to undergo a mechanical inspection before they can be registered in this province. Used vehicles purchased in Saskatchewan don't face that same requirement.
If a vehicle is insured and deemed roadworthy in another province, that should be enough to get it on the road here. It makes no sense that a driver who finds a great deal on a vehicle should face extra costs and red tape just to bring it home.
In response, SGI says every province requires mechanical safety inspections prior to first-time registration. That includes vehicles imported from another province. And if Saskatchewan became the only one eliminated, it could result in the province becoming the entry point for unsafe or stolen vehicles to be registered. Significant rain in some areas of the province have increased topsoil moisture for producers, according to this week's crop report. Cropland topsoil moisture is now 80% surplus or adequate. Hayland topsoil moisture is lower at 69%. Pasture topsoil moisture is 60%. However, heavy rainfall did result in some flooding, with 1% of seeded crops unlikely to produce a crop in total as a result. There are some areas that received little to no moisture, which will significantly impact the yields. Other crops were damaged recently by hail, frost, and pests such as gophers and flea beetles. Re-elected members of Métis Nation Saskatchewan's Provincial Métis Council were turned away from a swearing-in ceremony this week. The representatives were suspended from duty in a move some people are calling undemocratic. Jasmine Peltier explains.
Corruption is screaming as loud as it can.
Members of Métis Nation Saskatchewan are calling for answers from leadership over the suspension of 2 regional directors. Re-elected provincial Métis Council members Sherry McLennan and Wendy Gervais were denied entry to the swearing-in ceremony earlier this week. A statement from Métis Nation Saskatchewan says the council members had violated respectful workplace policy and questioned CEO Richard Quintel's Métis heritage on a public forum last November.
This came after an investigation we maintain was procedurally flawed and conducted without our participation.
The 2 representatives were told to apologize to Quintel before they could resume their duties.
And to have something like this done to our delegate is absolutely wrong, and we're going to stand behind her.
No reason for our representatives not to be at that table. If they were voted in, that is called democracy.
What type of precedent we're setting? How are we respecting processes? And what do these legislations and constitutions mean if we don't follow them?
We're here to fight, and we're here to fight for them to have their seats.
McLennan and Gervais say this course of action by Métis Nation Saskatchewan does not line up with its constitution.
The Matei way is about coming to the table. It's about having those good debates, having those discussions, because that's how we grow. It's not about coming to the table and everybody putting their hand up in agreement, even though they're not in agreement to what's going on.
CTV News reached out to Métis Nation Saskatchewan, but involved parties were unavailable for interview. Jasmine Peltier, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Still ahead, Bill C-5 is passed in the Senate despite concerns from Indigenous leaders. And seniors are having a difficult time finding family physicians in Canada. In Ottawa, the Senate has passed the Liberals' major projects legislation. Bill C-5 gives the government the power to fast-track projects deemed to boost the national economy by sidestepping environmental protections and other legislations. Now, it was approved in the upper chamber today without amendments, but a handful of senators tried to persuade colleagues to include language about respecting Indigenous rights. Several Indigenous leaders wanted the bill's passage slowed to give their communities more time to suggest changes and review the legislation with lawyers. A new survey out today says more older Canadians are having a hard time finding a family doctor compared to other countries. Finding same-day or next-day appointments is also a growing challenge. CTV's Scott Hurst reports.
Canada's healthcare system is under significant strain, in part due to an aging population, and getting access to primary care is increasingly more difficult.
I'm like a lot of people that my family has a history of cancer in my situation, but there are people that I know that have family histories of other conditions you should be concerned about, and you don't have a chance to get a checkup.
Canada is falling behind some international partners. About 8% of Canadians 65 and up don't have access to a primary care provider. That's about 600,000 people, meaning more seniors are going without care compared to those in the U.S., UK, France, and Germany, to name a few. The report published by the Canadian Institute for Health Information also notes older Canadians are struggling to access mental health care when they need it.
Mental health care is really important for older adults. We found in our survey in 2024 that 1 in 4 older adults reported feeling isolated at least some of the time.
The report also shows timely access to primary care has been getting worse. Only about a quarter of seniors who have access to care can even get an appointment the same day or next. That number was much higher than in a previous survey less than a decade ago. Now, improving access is not an easy fix. Canada's population is rapidly aging and people are living longer. According to Stats Canada, seniors made up less than 1/5 of the population in 2023. By 2030, that number will swell to nearly a quarter. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Many Palestinians in Gaza are still desperately trying to escape the conflict, and that includes students with full scholarship to Canadian universities. But visa delays are preventing them from studying here. CTV's Heather Wright explains.
Twisted metal and debris. This is what it looks like in Gaza City after an Israeli airstrike this morning. It's near where 19-year-old Tawfiq Abed lives in a small room with nearly a dozen other people.
I'm displaced. My house is in dangerous area.
Abed dreams of being an engineer and has been offered a full scholarship to the University of Alberta. Trouble is, he's applied for a student visa but has received no response from the Canadian government.
I'm sorry to lose such an opportunity, especially that is Canada. That's my dream. That's what I'm looking for is coming through.
Abed is not the only one. According to a group of Canadian professors, there are roughly 70 Palestinian students stuck waiting. They are urging the government to move more quickly to help these students come here to study.
Germany's able to do it. France has been able to do it. They provided safe passage for students. They've expedited visas. It is punitive, and there's no reason why we can't do the same in Canada.
Part of the challenge for the students still in Gaza is providing biometrics, such as fingerprints and a photo. But others say they submitted their completed applications over a year ago and have heard nothing.
We're not asking for them to skip the line. We're not asking for shortcuts. We're just asking for these students to be treated fairly so that they can come to Canada and study here in the great research programs that we have here.
CTV News has reached out to the Ministry of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship multiple times. They have not yet responded to our questions about why it is taking so long to process these applications. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Encouraging news if you're feeling pinched by the high cost of living. On average, wages increased 4.4% from April last year to April of this year, while inflation went up just 1.7% over the same period. But whether you're keeping more money in your pocket depends on where you work. CTV's Andrew Johnson explains.
Ever since the pandemic led to skyrocketing inflation, many Canadians have felt like they're drowning, not getting ahead. But the numbers have been turning around. New average wages in a variety of industries were released today by Statistics Canada. Pay overall is up more than 4%. But let's take a closer look. If you work in information and culture, it's an industry that's paying people 10% more than last year. These are jobs related to the movie industry, telecommunications, publishing, and content providing. Wages in real estate and rentals are up close to 10%. Finance and insurance wages rose 8%. Education is paying 7% more, and so is forestry and logging. At the other end of the spectrum, the average wage for people who work in utilities, think electric, gas, and water, is down close to 3%. Wages in retail down a bit as well, and in wholesale. The arts, entertainment, and recreation sector also didn't keep pace with inflation. Despite Canadians on the whole making more, one economist explains why right now, for you, it may not feel like it.
The general person who may have seen
reasonable wage gains since 2023, say, doesn't take that and compare it against the fact that coffee's $20 and it used to be $10 for a package. They don't compare it to the fact that butter is more expensive and beef is a lot more expensive. These are the types of calculations that economists do. We talk about real wages and whether you're gaining against inflation, but folks are upset.
He also points out this trajectory of rising wages and economic growth over the past year or two is now in serious danger thanks to the Trump and tariff factor, and the near future is very much a question mark. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Jamaica is taking the fight for slavery reparations to King Charles as the country looks to the UK to make amends for the transport of hundreds of thousands of slaves when Jamaica was a British colony. The Caribbean state is expected to ask King Charles to bring the issue of reparations to the London-based Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. The council is the final court of appeal for overseas UK territories and several Commonwealth nations. Charles is Jamaica's head of state and has the authority to refer matters to the council for consideration. Charles previously expressed sorrow over Britain's involvement in slavery in 2022, but Britain has so far rejected demands for reparations. For the first time in a decade, Prince Edward is back in Prince Edward Island. He visited a First Nation today where he took part in a welcoming drum ceremony. The Duke of Edinburgh is in the province this week to mark 150 years of the PEI regiment, along with his continued ties to the troops, which he serves as their colonel-in-chief. The trip wraps up with a regimental ball and parade through Charlottetown on Saturday. Closing arguments are underway at the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs. The rap mogul has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, and 2 counts each of sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. Prosecutors say Combs forced his former girlfriends to take part in sexual performances. His defense says he believes these sexual acts were consensual. If convicted on all charges, Combs would be sentenced to a minimum of 15 years. And no one from India, Poland, and Hungary has ever visited the International Space Station until now. Astronauts from these 3 countries arrived at the orbiting lab today aboard a private flight. Their crew will spend 2 weeks in space performing dozens of experiments. It is the first time in 40 years that astronauts from those nations have gone into orbit. The journey was arranged by Axiom. The Houston company is one of several that is developing their own space stations. Still ahead, some of the best gamers in the world are heading to Ontario for the Call of Duty League Championships.
We are counting down the days to Country Thunder. In the morning, we're talking to one of the main stage acts, Tim Hicks, set to rock the Craven Valley in mid-July.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Welcome back to a much calmer look at your weather right now. As we take a look outside, the sky does still look a little dark, not as dark as what we did see as that system was coming through late this afternoon. Did bring with it some heavy rain. It was a quick moving system though, as I continued to monitor it through the radar. Now the good news is that we are starting to see more of those warnings lift, especially in southern Saskatchewan. I'll show you that in just a second. Temperature right now in Regina sitting at 20 degrees with the winds at 20 kilometers an hour. As I mentioned earlier, we did warm up to about 27 degrees late this afternoon, but as that system was coming through, the temperature did drop by a few degrees, and now it's just going to continue to cool as we head into the evening. Still warmer than the average as we head in for our lows, though. As you can see, the warnings have lifted for southern Saskatchewan. We're still seeing the watches in place as, again, the system hasn't completely cleared out of Saskatchewan just yet. So there is a chance that we could maybe see a quick change from those watches into warnings, but we are still having some areas. Again, they're starting to lift as we continue to watch this system clear out in the north as well. The warnings are starting to lift. So good news when it comes to all of that active weather. We did have to deal with some scarier situations. Of course, further south, we did have those tornado warnings in effect as well. So a lot of active weather, fast moving weather that did come through Saskatchewan today. And as we head into tonight, we will start to see much of that clear up, leaving us with mostly clear conditions as we head into tomorrow. You can see a little pocket of rain there just around the Maple Creek area, but much of the system system will have made its way into Manitoba, but around this same time tomorrow, we could expect to see more active weather return, just like that. Late tomorrow afternoon around 3 p.m. is when we will see it, but this time it is starting to look like we will see it further north of Regina, around the Wynyard area, into the Saskatoon area. Maple Creek still seeing some scattered showers there as well. And not as many storm cells as what we did see come through today, but you can see, especially just in the Wynyard area, around, all around Wynyard in particular, we're seeing just a chance where we could see that hail and the higher winds making its way through. Nothing as severe as possibly tornadoes, but again, during this time of year, who knows? We could see those systems change to that. As of right now, though, just looking like some possibility of hail and heavy rain making its way through the area. And then eventually back into Friday night into Saturday morning, we'll start to see those conditions clear again. But then around this time on Saturday, we can expect to see the precipitation return. It's just maybe this time of the day that we can expect a lot of that system to come through. Now, those who may be going to football, the football game at Mosaic Stadium in Regina, I know you're seeing some scattered showers coming through around 4 o'clock. Kickoff is at 5. Very little. It looks like it'll be less than a millimeter, just some scattered showers coming through. And then by 9 o'clock, we'll see the conditions clear again. Maple Creek could see some active weather coming through in the form of a possible thunderstorm. And then as we head into Sunday, back into clear conditions again. This is a quick updated look as what you can expect for rainfall totals. Not looking like as much as we first thought we would see coming through the south, except Weyburn could see up to about 15, 16 millimeters of rain. Trace amounts expected for Regina now, 5 for Yorkton, 3 for Saskatoon. A little heavier as we head into the northern parts. North Battleford up to 30, 18 for Lloydminster, 17 for Hudson Bay. So still expecting some precipitation, but very much trace amounts for many parts in southern Saskatchewan. But as you can see, temperatures continuing to be above the average for many parts. 24 for Saskatoon tomorrow, 27 for Yorkton with a risk of thunderstorm. Southeast also seeing close to 30 degrees tomorrow. Southwest and same for the southeast. And for us tonight, dipping to 14 degrees tomorrow. We'll climb to 26 degrees, a mix of sun and cloud, winds at 40 kilometers an hour. And here's a quick look at your next 7 days. A busy 7 days, a busy couple days over the 7 days. Okay, you know what? Let's just take a look. 26 tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud again. Kickoff at 5 o'clock against the BC Lions on Saturday. Mainly sunny. 22 degrees is your expected daytime high, and then we'll just continue to see a warm up. Canada Day Tuesday, mainly sunny. 29 degrees is your expected high, and then we'll continue to get back into that seasonal range. And as of right now, it doesn't look like we'll be seeing much precipitation as we head into our first week of July.
July.
It's here.
Man, already halfway past 2025.
I'm not counting, but that's okay.
Oh, okay. I'll count for you. Thanks, Sabine. Well, thousands of avid gamers expected to flock to Kitchener, Ontario this weekend for the Call of Duty League Championships. It is the first time the tournament is held in Canada. And as CTV's Colton Weens reports, expectations are high.
The Kitchener Memorial Auditorium is nearly set for the Call of Duty League Championships weekend.
This is the biggest event we've ever had. We've held 4 or 5 events now in Toronto, always majors. This being the championship, we expected a bigger audience, and we got it.
It's the first time the 4-day esports tournament has come to Canada, featuring 12 teams of the best professional players in the world, competing for a prize pool of $2 million US.
I'm very excited to get it going. This is like the tournament everyone's trying to play for. The one we all look forward to the end of the year. So excited to get in there and hopefully cement my legacy.
Unlike a concert, the stage sits in the middle of the arena, allowing for additional fans to fill the floor. And there's major technology upgrades to make sure the matches run smoothly.
For being a historic venue like this, it's pretty modern. It's up to date. We're having great access. The region has been tremendous.
Organizers explored other venues, but say the odd fit the bill for capacity, and the region of Waterloo's passion for showcasing esports is the perfect fit.
I feel like every year that I've been a part of, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when I first joined the league, there wasn't very many Canadian fans. And then over the years, it's gradually just got more and more intense to the point now where we're like selling out venues with just pure Canadian fans.
While floor tickets are now sold out, there are still some bowl seats available, and organizers are expecting around 15,000 people to pass through the Odd over the 4 days. And despite the Odd's first run at a major esport event, Duffy says this could be a sign of what's to come.
Call of Duty's our biggest here in North America, but we also have a League of Legends team, a Valorant team, EAS IFC and beyond, I can see us going back to Kitchener many times.
The tournament kicks off Thursday afternoon with the grand finals set for Sunday. Colton Ween, CTV News, Kitchener.
We know what we got. We know what we're going to do.
The Riders have one of the CFL's best pass rushes early on this season. The details next. Riders' final practice today was a close practice. The team confirming Trevor Harris was a full participant after missing the previous 2 practices. So according to the injury report, the quarterback dealing with a head injury in addition to an illness. Despite being at practice today, head coach Corey May still indicating he is questionable for Saturday.
Might be a game time, truthfully, decision, you know, how we list it, but we got to watch the tape and see from there first. This was a big one today, so, you know, again, we played it smart and want to make sure that we're taking care of it, but to have him come back out here, it was big time for us.
On the defensive side of the ball, a committee of defenders has been all over opposing quarterbacks, pushing the Riders to the league lead in sacks. Donovan Mace has more.
Need to finish after that explosive Myers 71-yard touchdown. This isn't going to help. They'll back themselves up.
An all-out attack has seen defenders in green and white sack more quarterbacks than nearly any other team in the CFL.
Well, just as a unit, just our mindset, determination to get in there, relentless in our rushes, and rushing together.
Through 3 games, the Rough Riders already have 10 quarterback sacks, tied atop the league with Montreal, and 3 better than next best Toronto. And not only is the team getting to the backfield often, they're getting contributions from up and down the lineup, with 7 different players notching at least 1 sack.
The deepest D-line in the league. I think a lot of it comes down to that, man. Everybody can get a bucket, but we call it getting buckets. So just got a bunch of dogs together. So it'll be interesting to see how I continue to pan out for the year.
But this week, the challenge for the defensive line may be its toughest yet.
Takes a look again. Down the field again.
The visiting Lions have surrendered just 2 quarterback sacks so far this season.
It's not who we play against. It's more so us. We know what we got. We know what we're going to do.
Similar to Saskatchewan, the Lions are dealing with their own quarterback troubles as Nathan Rourke remains questionable for Saturday with a core injury, which kept him sidelined last week. But the Riders say their preparation isn't changing.
You know, Rourke, he has a little mobility. He likes to jump around a little bit in that pocket, but continue to just create pressure and to get him off his spot. You kind of prepare for whatever situation, but you know, similar to our situation is whoever they're going to have back there. For the most part, has been in the league for a while and has a lot of tape out there. So you know, we got to prepare for both.
Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
2 riders have been fined for incidents in last week's game in Toronto. Receiver Del Duncan Busby has been fined for this illegal chop block and Kenneth George that injured the Argos DB. Duncan Busby was penalized on the play. Micah Johnson fined for a high hit on Argos quarterback Nick Arbuckle. And yes, Argos lineman Jordan Williams was fined for his high hit on Trevor Harris. Coming up, a local company partners up with the Canadian Olympic Committee.
Let's take a look at your rural forecast for tomorrow. Again, we're going to continue to see some of that active weather making its way through the province. Some areas could see a risk of a thunderstorm. Others could see just some scattered showers. But one thing will be the same, and that is those very warm temperatures making its way through Saskatchewan. And you can see the variety of what we've got going on heading into tomorrow right there. Mostly cloudy conditions for areas like Outlook and Spiritwood, 26 degrees, 27 for Hudson Bay with a risk of thunderstorms, 24 for Watrous and Kindersley. But Watrous looks like we'll be seeing much more rainfall coming through that area, and 26 and a risk of thunderstorm for Wynyard and Melfort. When we get closer to the southern border, temperatures continuing to be within that same range, but less active weather coming through the south tomorrow. A mix of sun and cloud for Assiniboia and Rockland, 27 degrees there, but Kenora could see a risk of thunderstorm, 27 also. Maple Creek, 26, a mix of sun and cloud, and over in Broadview and Carlisle, also a mix of sun and cloud, and 26 degrees warmer down in Cornack, but cloudier, 28, and Leader sitting at cloudy conditions and 25 degrees. A real quick look at Langenburg. 25 degrees tomorrow with a risk of thunderstorm. That 25 degrees will probably feel closer to 29 tomorrow, and the winds getting up to 30 kilometers an hour.
A Saskatchewan-founded company is making a further expansion into Australia. Effective in August, Brandt will become the John Deere construction and forestry dealer in 3 of 6 Australian states. The company already operates 56 stores in Canada, another 13 in New Zealand, initially entering the Australian market in 2021. Along with construction and forestry, Brandt also sells a range of other machinery and parts. Regina-based Hillberg Burke is becoming the official jeweler of the Canadian Olympic Committee. The 4-year partnership means the company will be a partner with Team Canada through the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Games and the 2028 Summer Games in LA. Some of the work it will involve is a custom ring for all Canadian Olympians for both games, along with selling special Team Canada editions of their jewelry. A full Team Canada line is set for release in December ahead of the Winter Olympics. The stage at Dark Hall will be alive with the sounds of Shakespeare tonight, but this won't be the Macbeth you studied in school. This Indigenous performance will use the Cree language to tell stories of First Nations legends. Playwright Renalta Arluck has reimagined a story of Macbeth, originally told by Shakespeare. The history of Canada will be retold, but from an Indigenous perspective. The actors are hoping that those in attendance will listen and learn from the Powhatan Macbeth and perhaps rethink their vision of what we now call Canada.
Cree stories are very valuable, and I hope that young people want to tell their own stories or adapt their own pieces or do something in that regard, and it just creates a bigger platform for young Indigenous artists to be able to step into this conversation. This one piece might not reconcile anything, but hopefully it can help people want to step into that conversation and add those young voices to it too.
It really is.
Regina is the final stop on the group's Cross Canada tour. Tonight's show starts at 7:30. There's a matinee performance on Friday afternoon. A new state-of-the-art engine maintenance facility is going up near the Calgary airport, but it could have one major hurdle to clear before it opens. Tim Brooke explains.
A major $120 million investment in Alberta's aviation industry has officially broken ground. Lufthansa Technique celebrated the launch of its new engine maintenance facility at the Calgary International Airport Wednesday.
We're establishing a new benchmark in engine maintenance.
Come 2027, engines for WestJet's Boeing 737 fleet will be serviced here, and the build will also be home to Canada's first engine test cell, yet another addition to a growing sector.
This facility will enhance our domestic capabilities. It will reduce reliance on international maintenance operations.
But at home, there is a problem brewing. The country is facing a serious shortage of aviation workers thanks to retirement, COVID, and the cost of training. One group estimates we're currently short 7,300 pilots and 5,300 engineers.
There will be less planes flying, and we don't want that. That impacts so much of our economic development. So we really can't let that happen.
But there is reason for hope. New partnerships with the Alberta Aviation and Aerospace Council, governments, and post-secondary institutions have instilled some confidence.
We need to make sure that we have the right balance, having the right immigration policy and goals, and at the same time make sure that we have the capacity to afford important immigration across the country.
And Lufthansa Technique says a recent recruitment effort has already filled 30 of a possible 160 roles at its new facility.
We had really good talks already with Minister Jolie, together also with the federal governments, but also with the provincial governments, who just underlined the importance of the aerospace sector and what we're doing here.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
A young Toronto girl is literally building a name for herself, getting ready to compete in a major international competition for Lego builders. Jessica Smith reports.
It's kind of called an Easter egg in Lego language.
9-year-old Olivia Tremblay from Toronto is a mini master model builder, and she's ready to represent in a global Lego competition.
Nola announced that we're having a competition. Whoever wins gets to be my mini master model builder, and I really and gets to compete in the global competition. And I'm like, I want to do that.
Tremblay competed against over 60 kids from the GTA to win the local title. Now her sights are set on the first ever global title.
I needed to represent Toronto, and I like baseball, so I thought of the Blue Jays.
There are 28 discovery centers around the world. There's a bunch in the States, a few more overseas, but there's about 28 mini builders now, all working on a model based on the area they live in.
Into building since she was a year old, she says the best part is seeing her visions come to life.
My favorite part of this whole process is that I get to build everything by myself, and I can also learn new techniques from Noel.
The next stage of the competition will see her Toronto-inspired display shipped to Legoland headquarters in Denmark.
Her model is going to be the first time that a kid's model has ever been at the Lego house, so that alone is a very, very cool title to have.
Keeping her cool by focusing on the fun.
Just have fun. Make sure, don't think about it's a really big competition. It's basically just a competition of play. You just gotta build, build, build.
Olivia's Toronto-themed display will be here at Legoland at Vaughan Mills until mid-July. To follow along with her journey to the global title, you can visit Legoland Discovery Center, North America on Instagram. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Markets both on the way up today. The TSX up 185 points. Dow Jones up 404 points. Canadian dollar, it went up almost half of a cent to 73.34 cents U.S. On the commodity front, gold down $4.41. West Texas Intermediate crude up 32 cents, while Western Canadian Select crude was up 40 cents. And gas in Regina, no movement. It currently sits mostly at $1.31.9 cents per liter.
Wages outpaced inflation in April, moving up 4.4% year over year, while inflation rose by 1.7%. But some sectors did even better. Wages were up over 10% on average for those working in information and cultural industries. Those in real estate also had earnings grow close to 10%. Canadians with jobs in mining and oil and gas extraction saw wages go up about 5%, but they already make the most of any recorded sector. Chorus reported earnings, saying it saved $10 million in its latest quarter by reducing expenses that included cutting jobs. But the company still reported a loss of $7.3 million. The media and entertainment company has been struggling to raise ad revenue. The U.S. economy shrank 0.5% from January to March. This is a revised number released by the Commerce Department. It's the first time in 3 years the U.S. economy contracted. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Coming up tonight after the newscast, the CMA Fest. Stands for country music.
I need my eyes checked.
Yeah. Big Bang Theory at...
I thought it said Chaw Fest.
That's on at 1 a.m. Some cool pictures from the International Space Station today.
Yeah, brand new SpaceX Dragon flying its debut mission. It docked to the International Space Station this morning. The 4 astronauts inside are beginning a 2-week private research mission for Axiom Space. The mission was supposed to begin at the end of May, but of course a series of factors, including bad weather here on the ground, delayed the mission several times. All right, Adam Sandler is heading out on the road for a North American comedy show tour this fall.
Yeah.
It's very discouraging for me. He said it earlier. And you're holding the baby.
The actor-comedian playing 30 arenas across the continent. Most are in the U.S., but he will be in Toronto on October 12th, so there you go. Sandler has been dubbed that this is called the You're My Best Friend Tour, and it's his first since sold-out tours back in 2022 and 2023. Do you like Adam Sandler?
I love Adam Sandler. Do you?
I mean, I'm just not sure about the stand-up capability.
I feel like, I don't think I've ever seen stand-up, but I feel like he could do it.
You feel he could do it? Yeah, he always had funny skits.
Yeah.
Yeah, back
I just keep thinking like Saturday Night Live, right?
Of course. All right. That's it for tonight. Enjoy Chaw Fest.